In Stella version 3.4, we've improved pasting to make it much easier to move modules around. I'm going to demonstrate that with a simple example, although the real value of this is more complicated situations where there are a number of cross-level connections that need to be redone when something is moved. So this is a model that has something on the root. Inside what's called the old container is another module, and inside of that goes on root, which connects to something there. And the variable and module to be moved goes back to the root. So I'm going to go to old module. I'm going to cut module to be moved, and I'm going to place it into new container. And when I do that and I go back to the root, I'll see two things. I'll see that there's a connection from on root into the new container and a connection from the new container to the module to be moved. The only remaining error is this. It's too fast to see, is this connection error which says the connector doesn't connect anything. It did not remove this connector. It did remove the connector into the module to be moved because it found a replacement connector for it. Now this functionality applies not only to cutting and pasting within a single model, but can also be used across models. Let me revert this model to the way it was, and then go in, zoom in a little bit, and say, well, suppose that I started making a bunch of changes and I changed this new container's name to something else, and I've taken the old container and I'm going to call it, these are not very interesting names, and I took module to move and I'm calling this a bigger name, and in module to move I've done some work and I've changed an equation or something. I'll just change the variable name to demonstrate this. I'll call this California for no particular reason, and I'll say, okay, well, I've done this, and now I realize that I didn't really want to keep the change down here, but I'd like to keep the change here. So what I could do is I could save this model as a different name, and I'll save it as temp7, which I already have a temp7, and I'll say, okay, I'm going to actually take this from this module, so I'm going to copy this from this module. I'm going to open up the old model, which is called module to be moved, and in the old model I am going to delete the old container and paste the new variant, and we can see that my name changes have come across. The name change came across for this variable, but the new container now is the same as it was. So hopefully the new pasting capability will make your life a little bit easier when you're working with modules.